Our guest on the podcast today is one of the most influential economic thinkers. He's a chartered accountant, an RSS ideologue, the editor of Tughlaq, but for us, most importantly, one of India's most foremost nationalists. We welcome on our show a legend, a champion of our times, Mr. Swaminathan Gurumurthy. Mr. Gurumurthy, as we welcome you on the show, the first thing we want to ask you, this is happening in the backdrop of Operation Sindoor. What do you think was the most important things that led to its success?
See, basically, the answer for this is in Pakistan defense website, which I found quite accidentally, that we could, in a short span of time, energize our forces, coordinate and give an effective response in a manner unprecedented in Indian history, and even by the Israelis who burst terror. This kind of action is unthinkable because Israel never faced a nuclear power. We were up against a nuclear power which always threatens whenever there is a problem, they will move their nuclear weapon and get third parties involved. It has become the part of their strategy. So the third parties would like to get themselves involved once the word nuclear comes. We knew this, and so we hit them. How we could hit them? The answer is to be found in Pakistan Defense website in an article of 2020, in which the author says, India got on to the paradigm of non-contact warfare. Non-contact warfare is that you don't cross the line or the LOC or the border, hit from there. That means you don't clash with hand. You don't clash on the border. You wage the war from within you and your technology does it. This is what made India do it. It is a 10-year preparation, internal and external. It was led by our acquiring the Rafale and Israeli bombers, missiles, short missiles, and also the missiles which were fixed by the French people. So we never crossed the LOC or the border, hit from here, and we hit as deep as 250 kilometers. This would not have been possible but for the Narendra Modi government launching on to non-contact warfare. This is the most important step that India had taken, because by 2019 Narendra Modi had realized that it is not possible to handle terror by only manual combat, because in 2016 our army went and attacked them. In 2019 our air force went and attacked them, air force plane was shot down. So you should not give them an opportunity to attack us, but we should attack them. And that is the non-contact warfare, for which we had prepared our defense industry. You know, our ammunition manufacturing, which was about 30% in 2014, is now 88%. So we have grown so much, and that is how this operation has been possible, and it became a success.
That's very interesting. I would like to know more about it, because these words that you've used, non-combat,
non-contact warfare.
Non-contact warfare, I don't think anyone in India is really talking about it.
Actually, I wrote about it in the couple of articles which I wrote.
So that means the preparation for what happened in 2025 began in 2019.
No, it began as early as the thought began in 2015 itself. And you know, in India, being a democracy, you don't just easily take a decision. When we bought Rafale, you know what kind of objection? The matter went right up to the Supreme Court. If the Supreme Court had not intervened, even the Rafale acquisition would not have been possible.
Yes.
So there are forces which will prevent India from taking the right decision. And our opposition, our media, all kinds of opinion making in India, which is not guided by Indian national interest, but somebody is taking a decision and I have to speak or act against him. All this had to be overcome to make one buy. And we also made many secret acquisitions, of course, were not very costly and all that. And we had built a huge diplomatic ecosystem. Narendra Modi started with a deficit. He was hated. He was an untouchable. He didn't have visas to enter America, England, Germany, Japan when he became Prime Minister. And from that negative, he took such extensive travel across the world. He visited 71 nations for the first time, one time. There are countries which he visited 10 times, 9 times, 8 times, 5 times, 4 times. I don't think any other Prime Minister, any other leader in the world would have in 10 years built up such intense personal relationship with the people of different countries. Because leaders come and go. So he established such powerful relationship that made many things possible, including diplomatic support which we got for this Pahalgam action, which was unthinkable. Even a country like Qatar, which the Prime Minister visited in February, which always used to be against us, it supported us. So without a huge international support being mobilized by Narendra Modi, who started from a deficit to become the most admired leader of India, leader of the world. Morning Consult repeatedly, quarter after quarter, it projected him as the most admired leader, and his rating was approval rating was 70% and more, always after 2019. Without that kind of rise in the stature of the Indian leadership and matching rise in the Indian overall growth and overall performance and overall image of India, this action would not have been possible. In the same way, the dwarfing of Pakistan is 1/10 of India in terms of GDP. Its growth rate is nil. Its foreign exchange reserves are not even 1/100th of India's foreign exchange reserves. So it's a very weak country. So every world also looks at who is powerful and who is not. And so this transformation in 10 years is also a reason, not just the military preparation.
But however, if you actually see the words of the US president, I want you to analyze them. Is he helping India? Is he against India? What does he mean that he was trying to mediate? India is a self-sufficient country that worked for itself in this entire conflict that we had with Pakistan, sir.
You see, we have to first understand why the ceasefire. Unless we understand why the
ceasefire, please, yes.
You see, basically, this is a war which was started by Pakistan.
Yes.
We hit them and told them we have hit you. Then they began hitting, then you began responding. In the escalation ladder, you were always notifying, I have done this. If you proceed further, we will do it. This is the modern non-contact warfare model. In this, let us assume the fight goes on for another 5 days. It has to again end in a ceasefire only. Because this is a war without an end game. Every war must have an end game. For example, in 1947, Pakistan wanted to conquer Kashmir. That was its end game. We could stop it. Of course, we didn't do it fully. We could, if we had gone and fully occupied the Pak-occupied Kashmir, then our mission would have been fulfilled. But Jawaharlal Nehru faltered there. He took the matter to the United Nations and the ceasefire was ordered. And our army wanted only 3 days' time to conquer. So, that was the end game for India. Pakistan's end game succeeded in half. Our end game failed in half. In 1965, Pakistan wanted to attack and destroy India, Indian credibility, because our military preparations were very weak. They had Sabre jets, we had Nat fighters, and our tanks were not even moving, but we were able to conquer them and go right up to Lahore. But because there is no end game, we had to withdraw. There was an end game in 1971 war, liberate Bangladesh. We could do it. And in Kargil, the end game is to conquer the Kargil heights. The end game was over. Now in this war, what is the end game? There is no end game. So this war had to end in Otherwise, it will be a stalemate. You can keep on firing, they will keep on firing. So, there is no great magic that a ceasefire came. And that once the DGMO called you for peace, then as a country you have to respond. That is what we did, because we don't have an end game and they also don't have an end game. Then it is true that the Americans would have spoken to both sides. There is nothing wrong, because when country is talking about nuclear warheads and all that, any country will take, and America is a country which is it has got involved twice in this nuclear threat scenario. During Clinton times also it happened. Clinton has written about it also in his book. So when this was done, they must have spoken to both sides. When these people agreed, they thought that it is because of them. Maybe I giving the benefit of doubt to Trump. He may even have thought that he was the one who achieved it. But when he knew he was not the one, then he went half a step back. Then we helped in it. But the trade thing which he put, I don't know why he did it. Because trade and tariff is always in his mind, that is why he put it. But I think in the process he has reduced his stature and also his acceptability in India so much for nothing. And I think, of course, it's a diplomatic slip which I think America would overcome.
I want to ask you the Indus Water Treaty. It is still in abeyance. The Prime Minister is very clear, terror and water cannot go together.
Water and blood cannot go together.
So how are we to look at it further now?
You see, Indus Water Treaty was entered into at a time when things had not matured. For example, at that time there was no talk about environment, there was no talk about electricity being manufactured through, being produced through hydrological model. So, it was entered without any proper assessment about even the needs of the people. The three rivers are going that side, you take it. Three rivers are going that side, we will take it. This appeared to be a very, what I would call as a panchayati, a village panchayat kind of thing. And so it was always against us. In fact, even at that time, there were a lot of opinions expressed that India had unnecessarily handed over 80% of the water resources. So I think we were trying to recover from that position, and the building of dams in Kashmir area, Jammu area is part of our effort to recoup the losses we had incurred at that time. But now we have cancelled it. And the most important thing is World Bank said they will not enter into this dispute, let it be between the two parties. They have taken the right decision. Maybe they wanted a trade-off, they wanted to give $1 billion to Pakistan, and they said we will not enter into this water dispute. I think it appears to be some kind of a trade-off in this. But it has helped us. Now Pakistan is appealing. It doesn't have any other way. It can't wage a war for water. And they can't, anything that they do, they will be at the receiving end. I think we have caught them. And it is not that we will deny water to them, but we will tell them how much water we will give. I think.
I hope that happens now, sir. That's the way forward. I also want to ask you the significance of Operation Sindoor. You've told us how it elevated Bharat's role. The US-China trade differences. President Trump should not be taken seriously when it comes to global issues, or should it be taken seriously? China is a country that Bharat has to take seriously. China has spoken in favor of Pakistan. Turkey has spoken in favor of Pakistan. There is a huge moment in India today. A momentum has built up for ban Turkey. How do we deal with China here?
See, so far as China is concerned, China's competition with India is geopolitical. Of course, territorial. It's not that territory is not there. But the territory is also linked to Tibet. It has its own cultural issues. It has its own communist past. See, it is not able to deal with Buddhism. If it deals with Buddhism, then the Tibetan Buddhism will be the dominant idea. So it has many complications. So India may have said that it has nothing to do with Tibet, but still it keeps Dalai Lama here. And so this angle is an anathema for China. So China has to maintain pressure on India. This is so far as the territory and culture and relation non-trade, non-economic relationships are concerned. But so far as economic relationships are concerned, China is a very big gainer. It gains $120 billion out of India every year. It is not going to lose it. It will not risk it because it is already losing American market in a big way. So they would not like to lose it. China has over the year developed a trader mentality. It is no more an ideological China. It is a nationalist China. So they would not like to unnecessarily alienate India. They are supporting Pakistan is quite natural, we will understand it. But have they given any military support, military ideas, military connectivity and software support in this period is something which, because then they become part of the war. Supporting Pakistan is no issue, but there are things that Pakistan was given third party help to launch the missiles is a new news. And in this, if China has been a party, then the relationships will take a dive. China is a country always to be watched by India, and we can overcome the difference between India and China only by a decadal planning. It is not possible in one day. And China and India, even if they come to blows, it will be a draw, unless it is going to be a deeper war, one country tries to destroy the other country, and that is not going to happen.
Okay, so then it's always said that the way forward is to be strong economic and military power. Everything else follows. There's an old adage that says nations have no permanent friends. How does India then become a strong military superpower?
You see, India becoming a strong military power will be based on our comprehensive national strength, comprehensive national power. This includes economic growth, it includes education, it includes infrastructure, it includes our relationship with the rest of the world. So it becomes a comprehensive national power. It's not just military. Military preparation is just only an output. It has to be sustained by comprehensive national power. And if you look at it from 1998, we are building comprehensive national power incrementally. But we are not a dictatorship like China, that we can build national power by waiving the rule of power or dictatorship. So India is growing in its own way, but our capacity to influence the world through our performance in different parts of the world. For example, you take America, where Indians are occupying such high positions. Can you find any Chinese there? Can you find any Pakistanis there? It's not possible. So India's civilizational advantages are enabling India to become an acceptable power in the world. That is also part of comprehensive national power. America has no option but to work with India, because if you look at the liberal democracies, they constitute only 13% of world's population. Dictatorships constitute 56% of world's population. If India is not added, democracies can't match dictatorship. That is why G7 nations are holding India's hand. So India has many strategic advantages. Of course, it is not very clearly seen in terms of physical terms, but our advantages outweigh many disadvantages we have because of the democracy. So I think a decade we should be able to match the world.
Lovely. That's Viksit Bharat that we are looking forward to. My last question. Operation Sindoor was a victory for us. We saw many triumphant moments, whether it was the naming, the coining of this as Operation Sindoor, whether it was the key diplomatic win by the NSA and by Dr. Jaishankar, whether it was Prime Minister Modi leading from the front, directing the service chiefs, directing his forces on how it has to be done, whether it was targeting the 9 terror camps or the 10 air bases, or whether it was having our Navy be the silent killer at Karachi. Which, according to you, was your personal favorite moment that defined a Viksit Bharat, a triumphant India?
See, undoubtedly the destruction of the 9 terror camps. Everything else is follow, is reaction. The planning that went in, that you had to zero in on because it was all in residential localities. They had to plan accuracy by 1.5, 2 meters. This kind of planning is, and we had to verify and we had to ensure that the GPS models work, and very, very intense planning which was being reviewed every minute, and on the, because they wanted to do it on the 2nd or 4th, there was cloud, and so they had to defer it, and then they were saying there is going to be an impending attack, and so we withheld it, and so then chose the 7th. So it was that first hit is the proudest moment. The next is reaction. It's army strategizing, positioning, but the first was the moment.
Absolutely. I think it was triumphant. I thank you, Mr. Gurumurthy, for being with us. I think there are a lot of inside details and secrets that are there with you, which we would love to know in another anecdote. But thank you for being a part of this broadcast, sir. Thank you, sir.